hospitality sector in South Africa is a massive employer and a vital part of South Africa's tourism economy. The sector is made up of large corporates and SMEs, all contributing to job creation and skills development, servicing almost every hotel, lodge, guest house and holiday resort in the country. One such company is Tuscan Hospitality, operating nationally. To discuss more on this, I'm joined now by the Managing Executive Director of Tuscan Hospitality, Bruce McKay. Bruce, thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Well, so before setting up Tuscan Hospitality, like any other entrepreneur in South Africa, you've walked an interesting road from everything from being a chef, running a restaurant, owning a small business and managing hotels, including one you owned. Tell us a bit about that road.
It is quite an interesting road, actually. So yes, back in the day we did all our in-house training with Southern Sun and Holiday Inns. It was a long, tough road, but we managed to get through it. What I try to do is push hard, well, as hard as possible, to grow as quickly as possible. The hospitality industry is not easy. So, the big thing with it is when you come in, you've actually got to push. You've got to push yourself hard. You've got to be at work all the time. Your ethos has got to be good. Your work ethic's got to be good. And for me, I pushed as hard as I could with that. Any opportunity I saw, I grasped it as soon as I could. So I moved along quite nicely. When I moved back to Bloemfontein in, I think it was 1992, and we assisted in bringing the then old Bloemfontein Hotel back on track. Then in 2004, I opened up my hotel, which was an absolute achievement. I mean, I think every hospitality person strives to be able to do something like that. And then in 2013, we sold the property. Other than that, I was very fortunate. I mean, I worked for some massive companies. I was at Sun City for quite some time with Sun International. I worked for probably most of the larger groups in South Africa. And through that, I think that's where I got my basis to start up my own company. And we then entered into the sector, and we try and provide the best possible service. Well, let me not say try, we do. We actually do. We really look after our clients. We push hard. We try and help improve the hospitality sector. Obviously, we specialize in food and beverage, so that's where our strong point lies. And we've recently just signed up with a global company where we will now serve on their advisory board as their food and beverage specialist, which is great.
You mentioned food and beverage as your specialization, and it seems to me within the hospitality sector there was a big realization suddenly after COVID of the inefficiencies, particularly in food and beverage, from everything from large places, large hotels and conference centers to small boutique hotels. How did you saw that opportunity, and with your expertise in food and beverage, that's how that's the niche you play in the hospitality sector?
Yeah, I think COVID taught us all a lot, especially hospitality sector. It was one of probably the hardest hit business entities in the country and in the world for that matter. But I think that what we learned best is how to manage costs. And I think that's probably where a lot of restaurants and food and beverage outlets, including hotels, restaurants, bars, irrespective of what it is, a lot of their capital outlays and their cash flow is going into things like labor. It's going into food and beverage costs, which are rising every day. I mean, we saw now again everything's going up. So I think that what we try and do is concentrate on the areas where we believe people need to improve themselves. I think that from an operational point of view, your costs are probably right up there. You have to make sure that your costs are running properly, and that I would identify as probably one of the biggest areas where food and beverage outlets, especially even hotels and hospitality properties, that's where they struggle, is costs.
The government's on record as saying that skills development, and particularly in the tourism sector, is very important. It looks to me like a lot of small businesses and medium enterprises are doing that, and to work at this skills level is very difficult. But then to work in a very specialized area like food and beverage must be even twice more so. So where do you think some of the opportunities lie in helping with skills development in the hospitality sector?
I think, Gary, from a SMME point of view, there has been a lot of assistance available for these guys. The problem is the after support. It's one thing to set up a business, but it's to actually manage that business and ensure that whatever they've done and whatever has been created can actually be maintained. And I think that's where a lot of these SMEs actually fall short, is that there's no one to back them up. So you have companies like South African Chefs Association, FedHasa, which are all hospitality and food based, and they do offer a lot of assistance to these guys. We do as well. You know, we try our best to obviously assist whoever we can, especially when it comes to previously disadvantaged, and not just previously disadvantaged. We look more towards people that are disabled, people that need skills. In the kitchen sector, as many people out there would know, we have a huge issue with people being deaf, and people can't actually work because of that. In the kitchen, it's a very dangerous place. So there was a company in conjunction with South African Chefs Association that started off training chefs that are deaf and bringing these people into kitchens. So I think that there's definitely a lot of scope. I think that you know, if people want to improve themselves, they got to also realize that it's not just about opening that business. You've got to actually work hard. You know, it's not about driving a Mercedes-Benz. It's about getting to be able to afford the Mercedes-Benz. And anybody can buy anything and do anything. But at the end of the day, I think that they've got to put a lot more in than what they're going to get out for at least the first 5 to 10 years, if not longer.
Bruce, you've walked the road. You've paved your path. With wins and losses. But at the end of the day, I mean, other people watching this show and saying, I want to be an entrepreneur in food and beverage or in the hospitality sector, what advice do you give them?
It's a very difficult question, but what I can say is that there's a few. The first one is hospitality is about people. So if your guest experience is well received, you're gonna hit a big win. One must always remember that, you know, there's that old saying, a guy comes in, buys a beer, and enjoys his beer, he walks out. But if he comes back, then you've got a business. You know, one guy coming in is not a business. You've got to create that relationship with your client. You've got to have good ethics. You've got to have good, absolutely amazing work ethic. You can't come into hospitality and believe that I'm buying the business today, tomorrow I'm going to be a millionaire. You actually got to work. You've got to work really, really hard. It's one of the, let's call it, almost most thankless businesses and professions you can be in. It's actually quite staggering. You know, they always got these cartoons where you see chefs eating these wonderful plates of food, but in actual fact, he's the guy sitting on the floor in the back of the kitchen eating spaghetti bolognese. It's really a very difficult business to be in, and I think that it's very important for people to understand that if they enter that, they need to make sure that they're ready for hard work.
Oh, you know, it looks like you guys are doing a good job. We're going to have to leave it there, Bruce. That was Bruce McKay, the Executive Director of Tuscan Hospitality, all the way from Bloemfontein and operating nationally, joining us here in the studio in Business Day TV. Stay watching till next time.